U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Jacksonville. The Western Everglades Restoration Project is a new Everglades restoration planning effort that aims to improve the quality, quantity, timing, and distribution of water needed to restore and reconnect the Western Everglades ecosystem. Tonight is the first of many meetings that will provide the opportunity for public input into the development of this very important restoration project. Tonight, we are here to provide information and ask for your input on the National Environmental Policy Act assessment for the project. Before we begin, I would like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to get involved in this planning process and be with us here tonight. I would also like to recognize and thank some elected officials that are in attendance here tonight. So when I call your name, if you could just raise your hand. We do have the Mayor of Clewiston, Mr. Philip Rowland. All right. We have Hendry County Commissioner Carson Turner. We have Hendry County Commissioner Janet Taylor. We have Clewiston City Commissioner Kay Peterson. And we have Clewiston City Commissioner Molly Gardner. Thank you all for attending this meeting again tonight. This meeting is being held in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act for the sole purpose of listening to you. I would like to remind everybody of the importance of filling out these cards. These cards serve two purposes. First, they let us know that you're interested in this project so we can keep you informed. And second, to provide me with a list of individuals who wish to speak tonight. If you did not fill out one of these cards and would like to speak tonight, I ask that you please head to the registration table and fill one out so that you can have an opportunity to be heard this evening. So before we begin the presentation, I want to introduce you to some of the team members here that are with us tonight from the Army Corps of Engineers. First of all, we have Tim Brown, who is the project manager. She is our planning lead. Andy Lashivo, he's our environmental lead. Meredith Moreno, she is an archaeologist. Amanda Levine, she is a hydraulic engineer. There she is. Catherine Rivers from real estate. We have Zulamat Vega Liriano, a civil engineer. He's program supervisor. Jeff Couch, our ecosystem branch chief. Lee Basil, our watershed section chief. In the back, when you came in, they're still outside of the registration table. Jen Miller, John Campbell, and Erica Solte. We have Kevin Mitchell. He is here, our economics branch chief. And finally, last but not least, Luis Alejandro, water management. I'd like to turn and introduce our partners at the South Florida Water Management District. They are our cost-share partner in this important federal project. So Matt Morrison, he's the Federal Policy and Coordination Chief. Megan Jacoby, she's the project manager. Jenny Hiscock, she's a planning lead. She's also a director. Martha Nungasser, she's our environmental lead from the district. There she is over there. Armando Ramirez, he's our tribal liaison. John Madden, our water quality lead. Larry Brion, he's a lead modeler. And Jennifer Lee, she's the Federal Restoration Planning and Coordination Unit leader. Okay, in a few minutes, I will turn over the floor to Matt Morrison, Kelly Keith, and Andy Lashivo, who will provide you with a brief overview of the project and the planning process. Once the presentations are complete, I will open the meeting to public comments. We will receive comments through the end of the meeting. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Matt Morrison from South Florida Water Management District.
I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. I know everybody has very busy schedules and it's often difficult to get out. Is that any better? Let me try a different mic. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and run the machine here, Megan. So I just wanted to welcome everybody. I know everybody has very busy schedules and it's often very difficult to get out and come to these kind of meetings, but on behalf of the South Florida Water Management District, the non-federal sponsor of Everglades Restoration, we welcome you and we really look forward to your input tonight. I wanted to start by just giving a quick overview on the overhead of really what we're trying to do in the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Program in general. There's three graphical representations of the South Florida Peninsula, and on the left is one that depicts the historical flows before we all lived here, showing that when the rain fell, it hit north of Lake Okeechobee and meandered very slowly down into Lake Okeechobee, and as the water levels in the lake rose from that rainfall that derived upstream of the lake kind of just overtipped its southern boundary and moved water down into Everglades National Park as we know it today in Florida Bay. Now, with that said, we all live, work, go to school, and reside here. And in order for us to do that, we work in a very demanding system today. And the graphic in the center there is a good representation of how we manage water in South Florida under the current flow regime. And we all acknowledge that there is a system that has been put in place over the last 50 to 60 years that provides a very good level of service and flood control so we can live and work and enjoy South Florida. And with that said, we also recognize that there are some unintended consequences associated with that system. So what happens today when it rains north of the lake, the water moves very quickly into Lake Okeechobee, which now has a dike around it where we manage water levels within the lake. And when we can, we move water out of the lake down through stormwater treatment areas to Everglades National Park in Florida Bay. But today, under the majority of the operating regimes, when we have very high lake levels, the lake comes up and we actually discharge that water in an undesirable fashion to the St. Lucie estuary to the east and the Caloosahatchee estuary to the west, which is not the way the water used to go. So in SERP, the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Program, we have a series of projects, and I'll take a little bit of time to talk through those. It gets us to a future flow regime. Now, obviously, it's not going to get us back to where we were before we all came to South Florida, pre-human existence, but we do have opportunities through this program with individual projects, like the project that we're going to be talking about today, to couple together different components to improve the way that we manage water within the system and provide a better balance between the water supply that we drink, the water supply that we use for irrigation, the flood control that we rely on to live and work in South Florida, and then try to reverse some of those unintended consequences associated with the network of canals that we put on the landscape. And what I think is really important, we talk about the quality, the quantity, the timing, and the distribution of flows. And the project that we're talking about tonight is going to focus on that quantity, quality, timing, and distribution. But in addition to that, we're going to be looking at project features in the Western Everglades Restoration Project that will increase our operational flexibility of the system-wide network of canals, lakes, and levee systems that we have in South Florida. And as we move forward and we develop this project plan with the public input, we really want to increase the regional operational flexibility of water management and provide some relief to those northern estuaries that often get overburdened with those undesirable regulatory releases. And then try to send more flow to the natural areas, including the Western Everglades area that we're going to be talking about tonight. So from the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Program, we use an acronym that you often hear. It's called CERP, C-E-R-P, the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Program. That program is well documented in a volume of manuals, for lack of better words, that were finished back in 1999 that laid out a series of project components or project features that would kind of reverse some of those unintended consequences that I talked about from a drainage perspective. And that document included 68 different components that were all over the South Florida jurisdiction that were put on the landscape to help us better manage water resources and provide a better balance between water supply, flood control, and the environment. And those types of features are listed here, and these are the types of features that we'll be looking at in this particular planning project to put on the landscape to improve the water quality and the hydrology in the Western Everglades. And they include things like aquifer storage and recovery. In a nutshell, that is a well that collects water when the canal networks are full and it's raining. It moves that water down into the upper part of the Floridan aquifer and stores it underground. And then when it gets dry, whether it's a dry season or whether it's a drought, it brings that water back up, puts it in the canal networks, and moves it to the environmental areas for environmental restoration and environmental enhancement. The same holds true for the surface water storage reservoirs. We'll be evaluating and looking at different combinations of storage features, whether they be shallow, 4 feet deep, whether they be intermediate at 8 feet deep, or whether they be deep at like 15 or 18 feet, where we could build reservoirs and actually capture that water when we don't want it, when we're discharging it to tide, store it, and then deliver it to the system when it needs it as we transition into the dry year like we do every single year. And then stormwater treatment areas, we recognize that through development activities, urban runoff, other land uses, there is a water quality component that is essential to Everglades restoration, and we'll be looking at stormwater treatment areas in this planning area to capture and treat local runoff, as well as look at opportunities to bring lake water down into this area, treat it, and deliver it to the natural system. And then just a couple more I want to touch base on: seepage management and removing barriers to flow. Obviously, if we build reservoirs that are above ground, we can't adversely affect adjacent landowners or adjacent agricultural operations or adjacent cities. We have to be able to manage that seepage and provide the same level of service for flood control. So seepage management is a critical component of storage features in projects. And then removing barriers to flow. We have canals that turn left, they turn right. They move water here, they move water there. We're going to look at opportunities to remove some of those canal networks, for example, and reproduce some of the overlanded sheet flow that we historically knew before those canals were created. And then with these projects, and as these components get put online over a series of years, it gives us a lot more operational flexibility in the surface water management system that we deal with today. And as a result of that, we have more knobs we can turn to control water for water supply, flood control, and the environment. And that's where the revised operations come into play. So as you start putting these features on the landscape, you have more operational flexibility within the system. So we acknowledge that it's not only just the physical structures out there, but it's also evaluating and looking at the way that we operate the facilities that exist and the new facilities that we'll be putting on the landscape as part of the project. So without going into too much detail, when we talk about the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan or Program, we've made a lot of progress, and I think it's important for people to recognize that. So what I have on the overhead are really a series of all the project plans that we've been developing for reversing those unintended consequences. And if I start at the top, I'll pick on the Kissimmee River restoration. The Army Corps with the Water Management District has actually taken the channel that was the former Kissimmee River, and we backfilled it, and we purchased land, which is the floodplain, and that project is actually nearing completion. So the once meandering river was channelized, that water short-circuited very quickly to the lake. We are nearing completion of the Kissimmee River Restoration Project that actually restores that meandering flow of water in the headwaters of Lake Okeechobee. A couple other really good ones. The Indian River Lagoon South. That is a series of reservoirs and stormwater treatment areas that we have under construction that will capture discharges from Lake Okeechobee that makes its way to the St. Lucie estuary. In addition to that, we have the C-43 reservoir, which is under construction. That's a similar type facility, 170,000 acre-feet of storage on the Clewiston River to capture some of the undesirable discharges that come from the lake into the Clewiston estuary. And then we have a number of projects that we're currently planning, one of which we're going to talk about tonight. The Central Everglades Planning Project that was recently completed is waiting for congressional authorization, so that's a really important next step. That is a project that opens up the central part of the greater Everglades system and provides the necessary water quality treatment and storage south of the lake to move an additional 200,000 acre-feet of water south, above and beyond what we can currently do today. And then I'll talk a little bit about the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Project before I jump to Western. And the reason is that planning effort is happening simultaneous to this planning effort. And the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Project has a very similar team of Army Corps Jacksonville District staff and Water Management District staff that are formulating for storage north of Lake Okeechobee. And as we move forward and look at opportunities here in the Western Everglades Restoration Project to put storage and treatment south of the lake, we'll be coordinating and communicating very closely with the same team of individuals that are doing the project plans for storage north of the lake, recognizing that it's a combination of features that is the solution to the unintended consequences. Not just one project is going to fix it. So we're building storage on the estuaries, the northern estuaries. We're looking at storage north of the lake, and we're going to be looking at storage south of the lake in this particular project. So there'll be a lot of cross communication between project teams to make sure that at the end of the day, we maximize the efficiencies and the benefits of those individual projects for the entire system. So without going into too much detail, that's why we're here tonight. This project is really the next important project that we're moving forward and ultimately planning. We work under the premise of our roadmap that's known as the Integrated Delivery Schedule. And that previous graphic that had the dots that showed the Kissimmee River Restoration and some of the other projects that were on the landscape are documented in this Integrated Delivery Schedule, and they're in these different color codes that are throughout the actual roadmap. And it's important to recognize the two we're launching now are the Lake Okeechobee Watershed and Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project that will provide storage north of the lake. And then the Big Cypress L28 Interceptor Project, which is really the Western Everglades Restoration Project that we're here to talk about tonight. And those two projects together with the other projects that have been planned and are currently either under design or constructions will really provide the next increment of treatment and storage on the landscape to improve the system-wide operational flexibility within the South Florida water management system. So with that, that's just a brief overview of where we are in the Everglades Restoration Program and why we're here tonight. So again, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you, and we look forward to working with you tonight.